Hello guys, we're here today with another very awesome video. We're here today with some Buster Bladers. They got some new support, or pretty much they became a new archetype for the most part. And I did actually look up some videos, other deck profiles, so this is kind of looking at what other people done and then putting in my own spin to it. So BLS, just like everybody else, everybody's running BLS in this deck. We're running plenty of lights and plenty of dark monsters. These guys unfortunately are earth monsters, so that doesn't really help out, but he's a light. And of course you also have your extra deck, which has some darks and lights in here. So BLS is perfect. If we get Chaos Emperor and Dragon anytime soon, then yes, I would say run him as well. Even if you got errata, with the OCG errata, that is. Buster Blader, yes, if you guys don't know what the original Buster Blader does, he gets 500 attack for each Dragon type monster your opponent has on the field or in their graveyard. This guy, can't say if he's good or better, but if an opponent's monster is destroyed and is sent to the graveyard, you can equip it to him, and then you can destroy it and destroy all monsters of the same type, which really doesn't work because you change your opponent's monsters to dragon, and then if you destroy that monster equipped to him, it probably isn't dragon, because this guy only changes monsters, not equip spells, because equip spells don't have attack. Elemental Hero Prisma, he is here so that way we can dump the Buster Blader. What a lot of people are doing, if you've seen the other deck profile, they talk about Mathematician, because it's either you're able to send these guys or these guys, and you want to actually send these guys. This is ones you want to send. So if you don't want to run Mathematician, that's cool, but Prisma you definitely have to run, because you want to get these guys in graveyard and then this guy in hand, and this guy can be wherever you want. He'd probably be better in your hand. And then Mathematician allows us to just dump these guys, and of course is just more draw power. Running triple max C because of Pepe and other people that have been doing deck profiles on this. They've been talking about dropping upstarts. I am instead running 3 max Cs and 3 upstarts. Now for our Destruction Swordmasters Dragons, we are not running the other 2, which is a spellcaster and a machine, because there's a spellcaster and machine. You cannot fusion summon with them unless you have this. Oh no, he doesn't. Even if you had that guy, it wouldn't work because he only changes your opponent's monsters, not your own. So this guy, when normal summoned, will allow you to add a Destruction Sword card from your deck to hand, so that includes him or this guy or this card, and yeah, those are your targets. And you can activate one of these other effects, tribute him, summon a Buster Blader from your hand or graveyard, or if it's in the graveyard, you can discard a Destruction Sword card and special summon this card. It's a level 1 tuner, so that helps out. Pretty much the combo you want is you want to have this guy in hand, and then one of these guys in your graveyard. You summon him, you search him, you then use his effect to summon out one of these guys. You equip these guys using this guy's effect, because this guy, if he's in your hand, can equip himself to your opponent's to a Buster Blader monster you control. And then, of course, you can unequip him and special summon him as a level 1 tuner, so that's really, really useful. And then you can go for this guy, and this guy will then summon out a Buster Blader from your graveyard and make all of your opponent's monsters dragons, which means if you have this card as well, then you can go for a fusion summon and make this guy, and then you have this guy who probably has a decent amount of attack. You just super polyed using one of your opponent's monsters and didn't go minus whatsoever, and so yeah, that's pretty much the combo you want. But of course, if you don't have access to this card, we only run 2, then that is alright. You can just go for a normal Buster Blader, and then he gains 500 attack for each monster your opponent controls, because they're all dragon type. And then this guy also has the additional effect, which makes him really good against pendulum matchups, specifically Pepe. If he is equipped to a Buster Blader, your opponent cannot special summon from the extra deck. That is very useful. Note, they can still pendulum summon from hand, but they cannot pendulum summon from the extra deck, nor can they summon XZ or Synchro monsters. That's really great. The soft lock's really good, because if you can summon out a really big monster, all of your opponent's monsters, oh no, this guy. If you have this guy out, then yeah, all of your opponent's monsters will go to defense position and they cannot activate their effects, but this guy will just make them dragon types. So getting this card, it makes a huge soft lock. If you can equip it to this guy, again, it's a huge soft lock. They all go to defense position, he inflicts piercing, and they cannot activate their effects, and also your opponent can't summon from the extra deck. The only other thing you'd be left to do is maybe make a start of Spark Dragon, which we are not running here. Anyways, for spell cards, because this deck is all about consistency, Allure, Instant Fusion, 1/1, which can summon out any one of these guys. Unfortunately, he only gets his effect when normal summoned and not when special summoned, but you can get his other 2 effects, well, his effect to Tribute and special summon a Buster Blader from your hand or graveyard. And of course, this guy, they're both level 1 tuners, so if you already have a Buster Blader, you can just summon them on out. And both emblem of the Dragon Destroyer. Okay, I don't know how to speak. Add 1 Buster Blader. So we only have 2 targets, but he also adds it from the graveyard, so that means it's pretty much always live. So just search out a Buster Blader, helps with getting them into the graveyard. If you want, you can combo this card with Sacred Sword of 7 stars. I did try playing that, but banishing your Buster Bladers really kind of messes with the deck a little bit, and you really want them to get into graveyard. If there was a trade-in for level 7s, that would be really good. Card of Consonants, just dump your level 1 tuners, just draw more cards, all the more consistency. If you want, you can take this out and run more defensive cards, or maybe some Summoner Monks, so that way you can get the Prisma. And then you of course have the 1 Soul Charge, which will allow us to get back our Buster Bladers, and once you get a Buster Blader on your field, everything's become a lot easier, because then you can just summon on out this guy, or you can just summon out a whole bunch of monsters from your graveyard and whatnot. And if you really want to, you could put in some rank 7s in your extra deck for when you do a Soul Charge play. Upstart Goblin, of course, for more consistency. So we have the 3 Maxi and the 3 Upstart, so that should be very consistent. Foolish Barrier, of course, you gotta make your choice. You're probably gonna want to send this guy, because he is not considered a Buster Blader in hand, which is really annoying. So if this guy is in hand, and you have this card, and you don't have any other Buster Bladers in your hand or graveyard, you cannot use its effect to summon out of Buster Blader. So foolish, this guy. Unfortunately, can't Prisma him. And then we have the Destruction Swordmaster Fusion. Like I said, this is a super poly, which is very useful. Use them using monsters from your hand or either side of your field as fusion material, so it's kind of better than Super Poly, because Super Poly only lets you use from the field. This allows you to fuse them from the hand, which is very useful, especially when you're doing a whole bunch of searches with this. And you can also, if it's in the graveyard, you can send 1 card from your hand to the graveyard and add it to your hand, so it's really easy to cycle. There's no need to really run 3, because you can easily add it back to your hand. Just need stuff. And so to fusion summon, you need a Buster Blader and Dragon type monster. These guys are dragons, and these guys are considered Buster Blader while on the field, and he is of course a Buster Blader in hand. So you should be able to do it, and of course this guy will make your opponent's monsters dragons. Twin Twister, a great card to discard would be this guy if you can, or you can just discard anything else like this guy. And yeah, it will just pop 2 stuff, and backrow can kind of be a problem for this deck, but it helps. It definitely helps a little bit. Call of the Haunted, because of course you could always get back this guy. If you want, you could run Oasis, but because you want this guy in defense mode, because he only has 1200 attack. And so being able to summon out pretty much anything from your graveyard allows you to redo combos. If you end up getting, your opponent breaks your soft lock, then you can of course just restart it by Call of the Haunting this guy, which is really nice. And then of course we're running 3 Notice and a Warning, because these are probably the best trap cards you can be running right now, because everybody uses monster effects and everybody summons monsters. Just gotta be careful with life, because it may take a couple turns to set up, and then you could risk getting attacked directly. And don't forget that this Maxi is an empty threat. Of course your opponent doesn't know it, but you do. And if your opponent decides, screw it, I'm gonna go for game anyways, if he has effect failure, if he has Yu-Gi-Oh! Sagi, then oh well. You will lose because you don't have effect failure or Yu-Gi-Oh! Sagi. This is just like you're going second, because this deck wants to go second, and you just drop it first turn 1. If they were trying to go for a first turn Pendulum Summon or make an Infinity or something, you can draw a couple extra cards. Now for the extra deck, we're running Buster Blader, the Dragon Destroyer. Like I said, gains 1000 cannot attack directly. Do note that, cannot attack directly. Gains 1000 attack and defense for each Dragon type monster your opponent controls are in their graveyard. All Dragon type monsters your opponent controls go to defense position, and they cannot activate their effects. Really useful, because once you get that soft lock, no extra deck, no effects, it's just so strong. And if it attacks a defense position monster, inflicts piercing. So if your opponent has a face-up monster, he gains 1000 attack pretty much, because if you're summoning out this guy, you probably have this card. Norden, of course, because it allows us to make our Trishula here or any of our rank 4s. And then Trishula is a Trishula, it's a dragon as well. You know that. Beals is a dragon as well, and you can make him because this guy's a Dark Tunis, same with Void Ogre, and same with Scarlet Red Dragon Archfiend, just blowing up the field. And then we also have, for other level 8s, we have Omega, and then we have Buster Dragon. Like I said, it changes them to defense position, and you can summon out a Buster Blader if you do not control a Buster Blader. And then for some level 5 synchros for the Norden, or if you have this guy and one of these guys, you have the Omadis and the Chanabara. And that is pretty much it for the synchros. Stardust Spark Dragon. Starlight, what is that? Stardust Spark Dragon would probably be very good, because if you do get out the soft luck and you can make something else, it wouldn't be bad. But unfortunately, if you get out this guy and you have this guy, you're probably not going to be able to summon out another Buster Blader unless you draw into this guy. That's the only way you could. And if you do draw into this guy, then of course you can search out another copy, use him to summon out another Buster Blader, and then make another level 8 Synchro, or just leave him equipped with another Destruction Sword Buster Blade. So I mean, that's all up to you. And then for our XCs, Dark Rebellion 101 and Castell, just generic rank 4, not levels. XC monsters don't have levels. So that is it for this deck profile. It's a fan favorite. I cannot say if this is a really competitive deck. It's going to be a fun deck, that's for certain. It does take a while to set up. Hopefully this deck gets some better support. I'd really like to see them being, like, maybe make a, I know Buster Blader is all about dragons, but maybe either a spell card or a trap card that makes some dragons. So that way you can make this guy a lot easier, because it should be all about using your opponent's monster as fusion material. That's what I think the deck should be around. Maybe do something like a shaddolls type thing. The shaddolls were based around the attribute. Maybe this guy should be based around the type. If they did something like that, yeah, the deck would go from tiers, would just become tier 1. It's like, oh, I'm just gonna super poly with all your spellcasters, because there's currently a spellcaster and a machine Destruction Sword monster that we're not running. They do have good effects though. One prevents your opponent from activating spell cards that are already face up on the field, and the other one prevents cards from activating in the graveyard, which is really good against Performage and Pals, because then they cannot activate Monk Keyboard, nor can they activate Trick Clown or Damage Juggler in the graveyard. And so I hope you guys enjoyed this deck profile. Don't forget to leave a like, comment, and subscribe. See you guys later. Bye.